Hey everyone, Adam with the BMW Repair Guide. Today we're going to be replacing the rear shocks on this 2011 335i E90 sedan. This is a really easy repair for the home mechanic with average abilities. As you can see, we've already jacked and supported the vehicle and removed the rear wheels. To start this repair, we have to start in the trunk where the shock mounts are at. So let's get started. To begin our repair, we're going to start in the trunk. The shock mounts, where the top of the shock absorbers are mounted to the body of the vehicle, are behind these side trim panels on either side of the trunk. And to remove these side trim panels, first we start by removing the floor and the hatch, the battery hatch on the side here, which we've already done. And then it's simply removing a couple of plastic rivets, as well as this plastic trim panel right here. And once we remove the rivets in this plastic trim panel, these side panels will pull right out and we'll be able to access the top of the shocks and the shock mounts. So this back plastic trim panel is held in place by two Phillips head screws, which are hidden behind these caps. And then on the back side, it has four plastic rivets that we will remove with a trim removal tool. So first we'll start with the Phillips screws and just use a metal pick to remove the plastic cap. Then you use a Phillips screwdriver to remove the screw that's down in there. And then we'll repeat on this side. Next, we'll use a trim removal tool to remove the plastic rivets on the back side of the panel. So starting with this one, you want to proceed very carefully so you don't break them off. Plastic rivet. We'll go ahead and remove the other three. Pull the trim panel loose from the body of the car. And this will give us enough room now to get these side panels out without bending them and destroying them. Okay, starting with the left panel, there are two plastic rivets that need to be removed. One of them is up top, and another one in the back. We can now grab the side trim panel and remove it from the vehicle. And now we'll remove the right side. These are held in place with three rivets. One here. One here. And then one in the back, which fell out just now. Obviously it wasn't installed correctly, but there's a third one in the back that you would also remove. Then with the rivets out, go ahead and remove the panel. Excuse me, one more rivet we forgot. Four rivets altogether. And remove the trim panel from the vehicle. So the shock absorber mount is located behind these rubber plugs, and you just simply pull them free like that, and as you can see, there's the lock nut securing the top of the shock absorber to the shock mount in the body of the vehicle. Same thing on this side, just pull the rubber plug free. And then what we're going to do next is we are going to support the shock absorber from the bottom and go ahead and remove these lock nuts. Now, before we remove the nut from the top of the shock mount, you're going to want to support the rear the rear axle with a floor jack, and this is just to keep the assembly from dropping down when you remove that nut and possibly causing damage. So just want to support it just like this, and then we'll move back into the trunk and go ahead and remove the nut off the shock mount. So the shock mount is held in place with this lock nut, and in order to get it off you have to hold the shaft with a small open-end wrench. So we're going to use a 16 millimeter open-end wrench to remove the nut, and then we're going to hold the shaft in place with a small open-end wrench to keep it from spinning. I believe this is 5 millimeters. And once the nut is loose, go ahead and remove it completely off the shaft. And then you've got this foam spacer that goes underneath it. Go ahead and remove that as well. And we're all set. Now we'll move back to the outside of the car and lower the shock down from the body of the car and remove it from the axle. So in order to remove the bottom of the shock absorber from the axle of the vehicle, there is a 17 millimeter nut that has to be removed on the bottom. But in order to remove this nut, we have to keep the shock from spinning. So you're going to need a 15 millimeter open-end wrench to actually hold the bottom of the shock in place while we remove the 17 millimeter nut. Now obviously it's very important to keep the axle supported during this. After we remove the shock from the actual axle, then we can go ahead and lower the assembly. But it needs to be supported with a floor jack, or in this case with a screw jack, until we actually remove the bottom nut. And with the bottom nut removed, we can go ahead and lower the axle and remove the shock. And the shock absorber comes right out of the back of the car. Now, installation is exactly the steps we just showed in reverse. If you look down in our description below, you will see torque values for all of the nuts. And if you have any other questions concerning this repair, please see us at bmwrepairguide.com. If you found the video helpful, we'd appreciate it if you like it. And as always, we would appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel.